Are you ready? So Joe Lynn, longtime Milk Club favorite, great guy, ethics reformer, here with some ideas for us. Thank you.
Very few people follow the Ethics Commission. So what I'm going to talk to you about is inside politics. And I want to talk about the Enforcement Division at the Ethics Commission. This is the division which costs the city $550,000 a year. And I want to tell you about its record. In Obama's inaugural address, he said that if a program doesn't work, we ought to cut it. If it works, we ought to keep it. And so what's the Ethics Enforcement Division's record? In 15 years, only one lobbyist violation has occurred. And I'll get checked out anyone in the room who knows anything about it. Not one conflict of interest violation has been found. Not one Sunshine Ordinance violation has been found, although the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force has sent them over 14 referrals. Each one of them has been dismissed summarily without comment. Whistleblower. The whistleblower enforcement was so bad that a few years ago, the voters transferred it to the controller. Campaign finance violations. In 15 years, they have not levied one fine to which the filer objected. They've had 4 public hearings. The first 2 were dismissed because they weren't properly pled. The third hearing was against Carolyn Nee, a retired lady who was in the treasurer on the fight for public power in 2002. And they went after her for $28,000. Now, the woman who signed the enforcement action against her was the deputy director of the Ethics Commission. She had been found guilty of official misconduct by Carolyn Nee's husband, who sat on the Sunshine Task Force.
How incestuous.
And the Ethics Commission, when they learned about this, said, well, thanks for telling us, but tonight is not the night for us to discover anything about this. That was over 2 years ago. And since then, nothing's been done.
Not tonight.
What happened to Carolyn Nee? When the commissioners got a hold of it, she offered to settle for $500. Remember, they were going after her for $28,000. She said, I'll pay $500. Ethics staff refused to negotiate with her. What was the fine at the end?
$267.
Pardon?
$267.
$267. She offered to settle for $500. So that was the third public hearing. Fourth public hearing was the Tony Hall hearing, in which staff introduced forged evidence against Tony Hall, and as far as I'm concerned, absolutely blew the case by not handling it professionally and not investigating important leads. And so this is the record of the Ethics Enforcement Division. And what has ethics done to reform it? Well, first of all, when Commissioner Melvistad and Commissioner Dockendorf, and when I was on the Ethics Commission, we tried to make this transparent. The thought was, right now you cannot see closed files because there's a super confidentiality. Our thought was, well, the reason why these files are closed, really, is because if anyone were ever to look at them, the jig would be up. We would all have one comment these guys were. So let's open them up.
Thank you.
Well, no one was able to get that reform through. But finally, after 15 years, we don't need to look at the closed files. We can look at the open files, the files that have been made public, to know that this is a corrupt agency department. I'm not calling the agency department, the agency corrupt, but this division, which costs the city $550,000 a year, is corrupt. Instead, look, in Gavin Newsom's 2003 campaign, he had a $200,000 financing transaction set up by his campaign consultant. The law only allows a $500 loan. This was $200,000. Ethics did nothing about it. Instead, they've gone after Chicken John, They've gone after Carolyn Nee. And most recently, last year, they went after Wilma Pang, who was a Chinese lady who was trying to get public financing. So they held a hearing at which her supporters were native Chinese speakers who did not speak English, and the Ethics Commission didn't even have a translator there for them.
Right.
Jim Reed, they went after him for $17,000,
And they went after Jim Reed.
he's no threat to City Hall.
The chair for the last 2 years of this institution is an attorney who specializes in representing corporations and in lawsuits where consumers are claiming the harms that the corporations have been causing should have been disclosed. And her job is to say disclosure is not appropriate. And that's the chair of the Ethics Commission for the last 2 years. Now, Commissioner Hanson is the sole voice on this institution, which is fighting to open it up, but in 15 years, nothing's happened. There are times in politics when certain forces converge, which give us opportunities for reform. And the budget crisis is one of them. The Ethics Commission has been asked to cut as much as $400,000 this year. Some people say, well, the Ethics Commission won't have to cut a dime. And to those people, I'd say you should listen to the budget hearings, and you should particularly listen to Public Defender Adachi, as I think he's beginning to realize he's going to have some budget cuts to come up with. And Supervisor Avalos can speak to this a lot better than I, but my reading of it is ethics is going to have to come up with some budget cuts. Now, if they don't, what will happen? We know the history from last year when the public finance program was raided by the mayor. Now, public finance, unlike the enforcement division, is one thing ethics does well. It levels the playing field. In the last year's election, each of the newly elected supervisors was the beneficiary of public finance, and each of them was outspent. As long as you give a candidate enough money to get out the message, if the message is good enough, downtown can spend as much as they want, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
The message will get out.
Yep.
And so right now, the Ethics Commission's position is we're not taking any cuts, which is a commendable position, but I don't believe it has political reality behind it. What we need to do is identify cuts from the Ethics Commission so that when the mayor comes after public financing, and he will come after it, but when he does come after it, what you can then tell the mayor is, listen, we've already cut $550,000 out of ethics, and now you want more? That's not